What advice do you have for people at your age that are getting into the business?
I would say try to find, it's hard to say, but try to find a great mentor.
Welcome to the Ideal Podcast. I'm your host, Marcos Flores. I've been a real estate broker for 6 years now, and today we have the pleasure of introducing Trevor Diaco. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did, Mark.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate, you having me on for this first episode.
Yeah, so Trevor and I actually started talking about doing a podcast at, what was it, the AFC event in Fairfield?
Yeah, the golf lounge.
The golf lounge, yeah.
Yep.
I was talking to him for quite some time, and I was like, dude, we have to have a podcast. I need to have you on. I need to share your story. You have a great mindset, and I think a lot of people would benefit from listening to you speak. So we're going to go through a few questions, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let's go.
All right. First question I have for you, Trevor. Can you share your story of how you got started in real estate?
Yes, I can.
Let's hear
So I graduated high school in 2023. And ready? Graduated high school in 2023. I had this mindset of just wanting to be a real estate agent, right? Just something with, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to do real estate, want to be my own boss. And that just sounded good to me. So in July, I got my real estate license. Really didn't do anything with it. I did one rental deal. And then I started selling cars as well, just to make some income. Because real estate, if you don't sell anything, you're not going to make any money. With car business, it's a little bit different. You get like a salary each week.
Right.
Plus you get, a commission with any cars you sell. So did that for about 6 months. I did not like that at all.
Not for me.
Just
Yeah.
not. Like you're there from 8:30 to 7:30 at night. There's no like life. I'm driving to Greenwich every day. It's an hour sometimes, or even an hour and a half. So just like not for me. I met Gaetano though that summer
How?
through one of my buddies who been working for him.
Okay.
So just did like more of like the cold calling aspect. Didn't like do mortgages, just cold called. He put us in touch that summer of 2023. Literally, it was funny. Funniest story. He invites me and my buddy to go run at Ludlow for sprints.
Okay.
So I think we did, maybe it was like 10 100-yard sprints, walk back, did a couple push-ups, couple pull-ups. And then after we went to Las Vidas in Fairfield, just for coffee, connect.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off, like just same mindset. And I was like, I love this guy. Like this is the people I want to be around, just
Right.
like young hustlers.
Right.
So 2023 went by, still was selling cars, really wasn't making a lot of money then. But January came of 2024 and Gaetano calls me. He's like, hey, I want to hire you and I want you on my team. And I was like,
Oh, so you guys didn't even talk about doing business together at the time that you guys were working out?
No.
Wow.
So it was
Okay.
just like, he like randomly called me. I think he knew like I was interested and, we were talking back and forth about things we had up. Cause I had a client, who was looking for like an investment property, but nothing really went through with him.
Okay.
So stayed in touch and then called me in January and he was like, hey, do you want to, join my team? And I was like, yes. How do I get started?
Wow.
So the mortgage lending course is not that bad, actually. It's maybe, I think it was 30 hours or 25, something like that. It wasn't a lot.
I think you're one of the first people to say that. Every time I talk to a lender, they're always like, this business is super the test is like the hardest part,
So my real estate test, I failed that twice, then passed on
Okay.
the third time. This, I had to pass on the first time because like I put it all on the line.
Yeah,
So
right.
I took the course while I was at work. So like when it would be dead, I have the course going and it's just, all you have to do, it's online.
In between selling cars?
Yeah, I would
Nice,
just have it
nice,
on up.
nice, I like
And you can take unlimited tries to like pass it or whatever you need to do. And then there's the main test. So it's just, I think it's just one national and like a couple state questions. But I passed that first time. That was online. So it's in your house and it's funny how they do it. You have to clear your desk. Your whole room has to be like cleared. Everything cannot be around you. It's like crazy. But I remember seeing, I think I got like a 77. I was like, thank God. You need a 75 to pass. And I was like, let's get to work now.
There we go.
But it's funny because Gaetano, he was like, don't quit your job until you pass the mortgage test. And I was like, okay.
In my head, I'm already out.
I know. I'm already out.
Yeah.
The company, I think certain companies, like with that company, they didn't, they already have you out, right, in their mind. So they're like, you know what, he's not going to be here anymore. We're not going to give him any deals. So in my head, I was like, I want to put all my, effort into this, passing this test
Yeah.
and doing mortgages. I was like, I literally quit like on a Saturday. I didn't show up to work. I think it like snowed and I had like maybe 10 clients I do snow for. And I was like, I'm going to go to there, make maybe like 200, $300. I could do snow and I'll make $600 easy on a Saturday.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice. And you've been in the business for how long now?
Since March 18th of 24.
So just over a year?
Yeah.
Just over a year. Nice. And how are you liking the business so far?
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of freedom, right? And how sales is how much work you put in, that's what you're going to see out of it.
I agree.
So it's like if you don't do anything, you're not going to make no money. There's no one else to blame but you. So that's how I see it.
One of the things I want to touch on real quick is Trevor's only 19 years old.
20.
20 years old.
Turned 20 in April, yeah.
There we go. That's okay. When we first started talking,
Yeah,
right,
it was 19,
you were
yeah.
19 years old. And just in that quick conversation that we had, I was like, dude, this kid's going to go really far in this business. I could already tell. And so what I want to ask you next is, what do you think is a failure or setback that taught you something or taught you the most?
That's a great question because I think there's many.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple, but there
Yeah.
was one specifically I wanted you to talk about, but I'm just going to ask you the question. I'll let you answer.
For in the mortgage business or just in general?
In general.
I think a couple things was like not selling real estate. That actually like helped me. Because if I was selling real estate, I wouldn't be doing mortgages right now. I don't know where I would be in like the real estate game. But another thing was like just, not really like the business I was in, the car business, that company was very hard to sell, right? It's Infinity, so it's not like it's a name brand. Like it's not like a big brand like Toyota where people are buying cars every day.
Right.
So, that taught me like, hey, like, or the failure was I couldn't sell cars. Like,
Right.
it's
right.
the hardest business to be in. Mortgages, people, need a home, right? Cars, it's more of like people think you have like a slimy salesperson. But where were you going with it?
With the question?
Yeah.
I just want people to understand, like, there was a conversation we had back over at the Golf Lounge.
Yeah.
And I had asked you a very similar question, like, what was... I didn't even ask you what was a big challenge that you had, but you mentioned it was something along the lines of, like... It had to do with you being a real estate agent. I don't know if you sold anything as a real estate agent or you had done, like, a rental or something.
Yeah, one rental, yeah.
And then you pivoted into talking about...
Car business?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was it, I don't know if we talked about this, but I was actually, so my uncles work in the car business as well. So they're Lexus at Greenwich.
Okay.
And one's a body shop manager, one's a service manager. So the job I really wanted was after being like only in just selling cars, I wanted to do body shop like assistant, work with my uncle, and I hounded the GM for that or the regional GM, right? And I just wasn't getting anywhere with it. And I was like, I'm not going to, waste my time and trying to talk to him when, he is not going to talk to me, right? So it's like, you know what, I'm done with that. And that's when I kind of like made the ultimate decision to like move on.
Okay.
It's funny because I remember looking at Salesforce. Gaetano literally wrote a note in there back in like January, hey, he might get a promotion soon because he called me. And I was like, that's so funny because that never happened, but I did get a promotion, started working at AFC. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right. Okay. I have another question for you. So, do you have any unusual habits or routines that help you stay motivated or inspired?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Spending money.
Spending money?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So I bought a brand new, or at least a Jeep Wrangler, right?
Yes, you told me about that,
In 23, right? Once I got into the car business. And that lights a fire under your ass to do well.
Yep.
And you have to make money to pay that, right? Where, you're going to have a tow truck at your house and that car's going to get repoed. But another thing is I had maybe like $4,000 in my bank account back in January or February. I don't remember. But I really wanted a watch. And I go to my jeweler that, my uncle's friends with. It's like a family friend. And he's like, this is the watch that I have under 500. And I was like, I don't like any of these. So he pulls out he's like, this watch is like 3,000. It's an Omega Speedmaster. And I love that. He goes, I'll sell it to you at cost. It was like 1,900. I'm like, consider it done. He's like, we just handshake on it. He goes, pay me whenever. And then I paid him back the next day. But it's the watch I'm wearing right now. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's a
So
nice
like,
watch.
yeah. So like that's just something like that just motivates me every day. Where it's like I want nice things, or I want to go out to dinner and not like be able to like
Worry about the bill you're paying.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like how can I do that? Just that's like motivation right there. And I
Just
want
work your ass
multiple
off.
cars and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think for a young person like that, it's like if you have like a little idea what you want to do, you have to light that fire under your ass. I feel like I don't know if we're allowed to curse on this,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but like
It's
you have to light a fire under your ass
Yeah.
because like if you don't have any bills to pay, you're not gonna really have this like motivation to actually work or like discipline at this point to work.
fine. Right.
Yeah,
So
I don't
there
know
you
if
go.
you agree or
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Completely agree. I don't want to worry about what bill I have to pay. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
show up and work. right?
definitely.
All right, next question. What advice do you have for people at your age that are getting into the business?
I would say try to find it's hard to say, but try to find a great mentor.
Yeah,
Like someone who, you can just learn under. And you're not going to be making money. Like I didn't make my first dollar since I think it was like 6 months in. I didn't close my first deal. Started in March, actually closed it in June was the first deal, and then I had a lot of closings last year. But that'd be the number one thing. Start by finding a great mentor, or what I did was even on the real estate side, I went after just like big people, like people who close a lot of business, and I tried to like set meetings with them to like join their teams. And it's like the same thing. Well, I got lucky with Gaetano, just knowing him from one of my friends, Tyler. But that's something I would say. Just find a great mentor, and just you might not be making money, for the first 3 to 6 months, but literally like just be like a sponge, grab all the information you're hearing. Like with Gaetano, when we did consultation calls, I was in the room. He's on like Zoom like this, and I'm sitting right there where you are, and I'm literally have a notepad and I'm just writing down what he's saying. Like
Pay attention
FHA
to what he
loans,
says, how
dude,
he says
conventional
it.
loans,
Yeah,
VA loans, DSCR loans, bank statements, and just learning all the stuff that he's saying and how he's saying it too.
right.
Because like there's a way to say where it's like, what's your credit score? Then other like the best way to say it is, do you have a rough idea of your credit score? Right? It's like two different tones.
Yeah, yeah,
And like learning those things would definitely help, young people out in the future.
yeah. I love it, man. I love it. What's your like? You're really big on helping people your age. We've talked about this
Yeah.
a lot, right? You want to target helping students that are getting out of high school or going into
Yeah.
college. Why? Why do you want to help those kids?
I don't know. I just want to have more young hustlers on like AFC. And then like in a couple years, I want to have my own team where it's like, I want everybody 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody like 30, 35.
Right, right.
But I just like younger people. I want to say like 95% of people really don't, have like, they're not going to really have it in life. It's just like, it's that 5% you have to target.
Right.
And if you can target that 5%, find the people who are like, you know what, I'm not going to school, I want to start my own business or like stuff like that. I think that's who I really want to help. And like, because they have it, they have that like motivation.
Right.
They're just like lost, right? It's like you're not, like me, I wasn't really going anywhere with, I don't think, real estate. I just was like kind of like lost. But now since I have, since doing the car business, meeting G, that definitely like helped me and, pointed me in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. So if you guys want to make a lot of money, you're under the age of 20, make sure you connect yourself with Trevor over here.
Definitely looking
a
to hire
mentor.
people.
Yeah. All right, so here's a really good question that I have for you. I've asked you this a couple of times, and your response has always been the same, so let's hope it is again. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Where do you see yourself when you're 30, 40 years old?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Probably by age 40, I want to be like, dude, I want to have a house in Greenwich.
Okay.
Like $5-10 million house. Want to have like a boat. Like,
What about the portfolio?
I want to have. Now I know where you're going
Yep.
with this. Ideally, so if I buy a duplex every year for the next 15 years, I'll have 30 units, right?
Right.
Let's just say on the low end, maybe it's cash flowing not a lot, like anywhere from $500 to $1,000. I think interest rates are going to go down in the future, so I can always refinance.
Right.
But you're going to be making 15 to 30 grand a month just from that, right? But ideally, there's going to be I feel like money compounds, right? And things compound even in business.
Right.
Where it's like all the stuff you do now, you'll see results, later on. And I think that those 30 units could be even like 50 to 75 units. But ideally, like we were talking about, like it might be crazy to say, but I want to be making like 100K a month.
Right.
Like I want a life where, it's easy, but at the same time, like no one can take it away from me.
Right.
Because
right.
I built it. And like everything I have is my money, like I'm like self-made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't give money from my parents or anything like that.
I got you. Okay. So you want a portfolio of what, 30 houses by the time you're 30, 40 years old?
Honestly, I want a like apartment building.
Yeah.
Like just a building, like, and put my name at the top or something.
Yeah. So you got into sales to eventually get out of sales.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like my end goal is not to be a mortgage lender till I'm like 60.
Right.
Right. It's like, cause I want to have a life. I want, wife, kids, things like that. So like by like 40, I want to be spending time with my kids in another country.
Yeah.
Right. Than like selling like mortgages.
Right.
Like my full-time job then would just be manage my real estate. Ideally.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good goal. It's a
Yeah.
good goal to have, man. Not a
Because
lot
like
of people think
I don't
like
think
that.
I don't really think a lot of people go into sales to do it their whole life, right? We're trying to, get in, get out.
No, I mean, we've talked about this before. You'd be surprised. You have a lot of individuals out there that are like 40, 50 years old and they're still doing sales. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I definitely want to get out of it, sometime in the near future. And
Yeah.
I know you do too. So, yeah, it's not a mindset everybody carries.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting when we talked about it that, you're only 19 years old and here you are already thinking about how I'm going to get out of sales, 10, 15 years from now. So,
Well, the thing is, when you think like that, now you're thinking, okay, I'm behind.
right.
So now I'm like behind. I gotta get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's weird, like a kid like 20 years old thinks he's behind in life, but
Yeah.
like that's how I think. Like I feel like I'm always behind, and I can always be doing something better.
Right. Right. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. So just before we wrap up here, is there anything you want to ask me?
How'd you get into it?
How'd I get into real
Yeah.
estate?
Turn the podcast on him now.
Yeah. It's actually really funny how I got into it. I wanted to also make a shit ton of money, right?
Yep.
And I knew the only way was through real estate. It's just what I kind of came to conclusion through research. So I was like, how do I make the most amount of money in the least amount of time? And it was like, I just have to invest in real estate, but I don't have any money. So
Yeah.
how do I do it? So I went online and I looked up how to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And I just kept seeing dental hygienists. They make around like $80,000, $90,000 a year. You only have to go to school for 2 years. And I was like, I can do that. So I enrolled myself into the dental hygiene program over at UB. Had to complete a couple of prerequisites over at NCC. Once I was going to transfer over, I had done the orientation over at UB, and I saw, I think it was like 50 girls, and there was like 2 guys. And I was like, okay, so this is obviously a female-dominated field, but I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go through with it. I'm gonna, become a dental hygienist, save up for 2 years, start investing into real estate. When I went back to my class that day, across the room, I had never seen it, and I had already been in this class for like 2-3 months. I saw Real Estate University on the door. Walked in, there was a lady behind the desk. I asked her what it entailed, and she was like, oh, it's a course, you can get a real estate license. And I was like, how do I do that? She's like, you just have to be over 18, pay the fee, pass the course, and you're done.
Yep.
I dropped out of the dental hygiene program then, paid the course, passed the test 3 months later, and I was a licensed real estate agent.
That's great.
And yeah, I just kind of learned the ins and outs
So
of
you
real
were,
estate.
how old, 20 or 20?
I was 23 years old.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was driving a really nice car at the time. I had sold the car because I had no money, and I knew that I was going to basically be stuck without making any money for at least a year. But thankfully, I ended up joining a really good team, and my business picked up pretty quick from then. And here we are 6 years later. On
Gotcha.
the team, doing business with AFC and,
Yeah.
Trevor, one of the best lenders out there, So that's how I got into the business.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's actually a crazy story, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, you had your mindset, like, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, you just saw a sign. It's like if I just saw a sign right now,
Right.
like, across the room that,
Right.
join something.
Yeah.
That's nuts, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
But I feel like everybody has those stories, right? I don't think anybody who just goes into something, right? I feel like you always go into another thing. Or like, so I went into real estate, met Gaetano, now I'm into lending.
Right.
You went to, school, saw a sign, now you're a real estate agent.
Right.
Where it's like, it's hard to plan things.
It is, and you'll meet a lot of people who act like they have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But dude, it's all a facade. It's all a lie. You know,
I don't even have it figured out.
No. I have some mentors that are, I think, in their 50s. Yeah, this guy William. Shout out to William. Been a huge help in this career that I'm in. But even he tells me, he's like, dude, I'm 50 years old. He has over, I think, it's like almost 50 properties in his portfolio.
Yeah.
But he's like, I didn't even have this all planned out. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen, but I just had a goal of making a shit ton of money. And then I kind of just figured it out along the way. But he always told me, he's like, if you ever find someone who acts like they know what they're doing or has it all figured out, they're lying to you or they're trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
So
I tried to do that so it's funny you say this. In high school, since freshman year was COVID.
Okay.
So I was going to play high school baseball. COVID hit. We didn't play baseball that year. But it was kind of like, that was like the moment where it was like, you know what? I'm not going to go play baseball in college. And then if I get drafted, because I'm a lefty, so it's like, if you throw 90, you could pretty much get drafted.
Okay.
But I was like, I'm not going to do that. I really don't want to have that life where I'm in the minor leagues, making 30, 40,000 a year, whatever it is. So I was like, I just started looking things up. Like, family members own real estate. How can I own real estate?
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like real estate agent, right? Learn about the business, sell homes, while selling homes, you're going to learn things about, buying real estate.
Right.
So then that's how I got into it. And then like ever since like freshman year, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was just like real estate.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's just crazy how like things,
work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Because like if I was a real estate agent, maybe I was, would have been great. But like,
maybe you needed the right mentor.
Yeah. But like I think the mentor is, dude, it's you
huge.
need a mentor.
Yeah.
You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think they could do it by themselves. And I think that's when it's like you're gonna just spin your tires, right?
Right.
Not gonna really do anything. But I think it takes, some guts to be like, I need someone, to help me learn from.
Definitely. Definitely.
Take half the split or whatever it
put
is.
Put your ego aside and just do the work. Yeah.
Because like even like deals I close, if you look me up, it's gonna say 0 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's under G, and like I could tell you this year I closed 3.8 so far.
Wow.
Right. So trying to get to like 15 million by the end of the year, hopefully even more.
Yeah, you will. Definitely.
But I think like if you could put your ego to the side, in the long run, that's when you can have an ego.
Yeah.
When you have it all, when you're, financially there.
Results.
Yeah. When you have like, like results to back everything, then you're good. Then you can do whatever you want and say whatever you want.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, I just want people to get to know who you are and, as a person, aside from the business, I can tell you have it in you to be very successful in this business. And I know you're going to continue to do very well. So I wanted to showcase that to the people watching this.
Yeah.
But if someone wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, in business or maybe invite you on another podcast, how can they find you?
So social media, it's just Trevor Diaco. So Trevor, and then Diaco, Diaco. And then phone number, just go on AFC Mortgage Group. We could pull that from there.
You want to give a shout out to AFC as well?
Yeah, shout out to AFC, Frank Chambriello, Gaetano Chambriello, and then Vito Chambriello as well.
There we go.
And then everybody, the rest of the team as well.
There we go. And that concludes today's podcast.